St. Thomas the Apostle, after having preached the gospel in various places of West Asia, such as Mesopotamia and Persia, came to India in AD 52. The church which he established is known as the Malankara Church. Some interpret Malankara as the land of hills. From the time of the Apostle Thomas, the church of the locality was known as the Malankara Church. All other names are of later origin. This will be made clear later in the presentation, as you will see a chart showing the origins of the different groups. There are two reasons pointed out for the Apostle Thomas to reach India. First, the presence of Jews who came over to Kerala for trade, and second, the discovery of the sea route from the Western world to Kerala facilitated to strengthen the trade relationship. It is believed that these favorable circumstances might have made the journey for St. Thomas much more easier. There are 7 churches founded by St. Thomas in Kerala. He was speared and killed in Mylapore in AD 72 and is entombed there. A major portion of the mortal remains of St. Thomas was transferred to Edessa in the 3rd century, and from there to various other places. We celebrate the feast of St. Thomas on July 3rd. In the opinion of many scholars, there existed a good relationship between the Indian Church and the Persian Church from the very beginning. There are very clear evidence from the 7th century onwards that the bishops of the Persian Church came over and gave leadership to the Indian Church. In the 16th century, when the Portuguese missionaries came over, they saw the Syrian liturgy under the leadership of the Bishop of Persia. During the period of 1504 to 1552, Mar Jacob was the leader. From 1556 to 1569, Mar Joseph, and 1569 to 1597, Mar Abraham reigned in the Malankara Church. With the demise of these Persian bishops, the hierarchical relationship between the Malankara Church and the Persian Church came to an end. Until the 16th century, the Church of India cherished a good relationship in the fields of liturgy and administration with the East Syrian Church of Persia. The Portuguese came to Kerala in 1498 under the command of Vasco da Gama. Along with Vasco da Gama, many missionaries also came over and established a Christian brotherhood and received the sacraments here. The Portuguese missionaries did not like the East Syrian liturgy used in Malankara, as it was different from the Latin liturgy used by the Portuguese missionaries. Therefore, they decided to introduce the Western theology, its devotional practices, and the Latin liturgy. Among the Portuguese missionaries, perhaps the most famous and enthusiastic one was St. Francis Xavier. He reached Goa in 1542 and preached the gospel in various parts of India, including Kerala, and converted many to Christianity. It is the King of Portugal who sent the traders and missionaries over to India, and the Pope had entrusted the King of Portugal the patronage of the Church in India. This kind of patronage of the King of Portugal over the mission territories, it was known as Padravado. The Pope entrusted this authority over the Indian churches to the King of Portugal. In the Third Goan Synod, held in 1585, it was decided to reform the Malankara liturgy. After the death of Mar Abraham in 1597, the missionaries undertook control of the Malankara Church. What happened in the Synod of Dayampur in 1599 was the attempt to bring the Malankara Church, established by St. Thomas the Apostle, to be a part of the Western Church. The synod was held precisely to establish permanent responsibility of the sovereignty of Portugal and the westernization of the Indian Church. Mar Abraham had desired to entrust the Indian Church to a bishop from Persia before his death in 1597. However, the Portuguese objected to all such attempts. Before his death, Mar Abraham had appointed Archdeacon Mar Givargis and entrusted him the responsibility of the Indian Church. Hence, the Portuguese missionaries were unable to rule the Indian Church. Making use of the occasion that there was no bishop in the Malankara Church, a bishop from the west, Menezes from Goa, who had no authority over the local church, came over to Kochi in February 1st, 1599. The purpose of his arrival was to amend the faults of the Malankara Church, to protect the churches, to convene the synod, to destroy all books containing false teachings, and to bring the Malankara Church under the control of the Latin Church, to replace the Syriac language and introduce Latin in its place. The synod, led by Menezes, was conducted with the help of the Portuguese army and with the help of local kings in a church in Diampur on June 20th, 1599. 153 priests and 600 lay leaders attended this synod. The synod was concluded on the 26th of June, 1599. Thus, the Malankara Church was made part of the Latin Church, having westernized her mode of worship, spirituality, and theological concepts. Although Menezes attempted to obtain sanction for this synod from Rome, he did not succeed in getting the same. Since the synod was not convened as per church regulations, Menezes, the Bishop of Goa, appointed Francis Ross, a Jesuit priest, as the first Latin bishop of the Syro-Malankarites on the 20th of December, 1599, and Angamali was made the diocese of the Padrovado, and degraded it by making it a parallel diocese of the Goan missionary diocese. The Malankara Church, therefore, was put under the jurisdiction of the Latin Church, and slowly made to cease its authority and claims of the Archdeacon in his position as Vicar General, and was appointed as in the Latin Church. Bishop Francis Ross reigned over the Malankarites from 1599 to 1624. India was divided into 4 dioceses, namely Goa, Kochi, Mylapore, and Kodungalur. The Malankara Church was reduced under the Diocese of Kodungalur, and those Malankarites outside were slowly converted as members of the Latin Church. The headquarters of the Archdiocese of Angamali was transferred to Kodungalur in 1608. After Francis Ross, a Jesuit father named Brito and another Jesuit father named Francis Garcia ruled over the Malankara Church as their bishops. During these periods, the opposition of the Malankara Church against the Portuguese missionaries increased, due to the degradation of the Archdeacon and due to the excessive Latinization being introduced. Syrian Christians, being unable to endure the dominion of the Westerners, made an oath holding on to the ropes tied around the stone cross fixed in front of the church on the 3rd of January 1653, and this oath is known as the Oath of the Slanting Cross. The declaration of the Slanting Cross was that Malankarites will never acknowledge the priests of the Society of Jesus. In the meeting which followed, representatives of the Eparchy parish passed a resolution to get bishops either from the local church or from religious orders other than the Society of Jesus. Having heard that a bishop from the East Syrian Church was coming, many people gathered to receive him. However, the Portuguese missionaries sent him back, and news began to spread that the Portuguese killed him. This was another reason for the oath of the slanting cross. Meanwhile, Iti Toman spread a false document that Maratala had allowed to ordain a bishop by the imposition of hands of 12 priests, gathered together and placing their hands on the head of the archdeacon, ordained him as a bishop. Along with him, 4 reverend fathers were also appointed as counselors. After the oath of the slanting cross, Rome sent Joseph Sebastiani and Hyacinth, 2 Carmelite fathers, to Kerala to solve the problems. They made it clear that the ordination of the archdeacon by 12 priests was invalid. Thus, many of the faithful and parishes left his leadership. Joseph Sebastiani returned from Rome as bishop in 1661 and took charge. Although he held conciliatory discussions, he did not succeed. Sebastiani did not take any interest in sanctioning the ordination of the archdeacon. Meanwhile, the Dutch army defeated the Portuguese and captured Kodungallur and Kochi. Sebastiani was asked to quit Malankara. In this case, Marthoma archdeacon was excommunicated. Sebastiani ordained Palavital Parambal Chandi Katanar as bishop of the Kodungallur church before he left. After the slanting cross oath, the Malankara church was divided into 3 different groups. Certain churches, which were included in the Cochin Padravado Latin diocese, and in some other Latin diocese in 1610. In 1661, when the Malabar Vicariate was founded under the propaganda of Rome for the Syrians, and when Parambal Chandi Katanar was ordained bishop, 64 parishes in total and 20 parishes in part were under him. Under Thoma archdeacon, 26 parishes in total and 20 parishes in part accepted Marthoma I.